everyone. It is Monday morning, and if you're living in the UK, especially England, there is a good chance that you have just sent the kiddos back to school following the week off. And that is part of why I wanted to record this video today. Today I'm talking about weight loss, and I'm talking about it at this point because I have just come back from holiday, and I've obviously not been kind of consciously watching what I'm eating. But the other reason I'm recording this is because I actually was going to do this just at New Year, so kind of like a New Year's resolution thing. And for whatever reason, I just didn't do it. And I think it was because there's so much of that stuff at New Year, isn't there? I mean, New Year's resolutions, this is the year I'm going to be thin, this is the year I'm going to work out. And it just felt a little bit, I don't know, a bit cliche and also a bit pressurized, because then it's like, okay, you've got to be seen to not fail this New Year's resolution. So I've taken quite a lot of time to think about it, and I'm really ready to chat to you about my experience of weight loss. And it so happens that since New Year, I have actually lost a couple of pounds, about a kilo for those using kilos. And I kind of feel like I have a really different perspective now on losing weight. And I wanted to share it with you today. And I also wanted to see if anyone wants to come along this little experiment, this little journey with me. So let me tell you a little bit about my kind of weight loss experience and story. So I have been on, like many of us, just about every diet that you can imagine. I've done Atkins, Weight Watchers. I've not done Slimming World actually, which is meant to be really good, but all kind of calorie controlled. I actually used to work for Rosemary Connolly when I was at college, so I even had kind of in-depth experience of, you know, lowering your saturated fats and watching your calories. So I've really done it all, but I've consistently been within a kind of 2 stone barometer for most of my adult life. So I've been anywhere between 9.5 stone to 11.5 stone, and I will put the equivalents here in a bubble somewhere. So yeah, 9.5 stone to 11.5 stone, and no matter what diet I've done, I've pretty much been around that area. The only time that I've been a lot higher than that was not that long after I had my first son, Emery. I actually gained a lot of weight following giving birth to him, and didn't shift it for a good 2.5 years. And then I went up to 12.5 stone. So I was much, much bigger than I had been the rest of my adult life. And shifting that was really quite difficult because I wasn't in a particularly happy place in my life then as well. And the answer to my prayers then was running. I started to run, and that seemed to just kick the weight loss into gear, and I was back into that range again of 9.5 to 11.5. So here is what I have learned from all of these different diets and weight loss, you know, experiences that I've had. My biggest learn, number one, is that restrictions don't work. Of course they work in the short term, and you will see that just recently, before I went on my summer holiday, I did a keto diet with my husband, the ketogenic diet. It was actually as much about getting a reset as it was anything else. I had stopped breastfeeding. I'd kind of gained a bit of weight when I stopped breastfeeding, and I felt like I needed something quite severe. My husband was doing it as well, and we just thought, okay, we can do this together. And I would only have been able to do that with his support. We actually lost, we probably lost about 8 to 10 pounds, and That was over about a 6-week period. So we lost the first 5 pounds very, very quickly within about the first week, week and a half. And then it started to slow down and come off a bit after that. That is an incredibly restrictive diet. You do feel pretty good once you get through the first stage. But then we went on holiday, and of course we started having carbohydrates again, drinks again. It went on, back on, I'm not kidding, within days. So this again just shows me that restriction and heavily restricted diets will not work when you don't have a lot of weight to lose. The time in my life when I lost the most weight, when I went from about 11.5 stone to 9.5 stone, was when I met my husband. And quite honestly, that was all about being distracted. I was excited all the time. I had like butterflies in my stomach. I was still eating. We were going out, we were having dinners, we were drinking. I was still seeing my friends regularly. I was traveling all the time, which is really, really difficult to lose weight when you're traveling. And yet I still managed to get to my lowest weight loss. And this was the aha moment for me. This is when I learned that weight loss is really in the mind. And the moment you put yourself in control is the moment where you start losing weight. And this is when I have started to really readjust the way that I have been viewing diets. So first of all, I do not use the term diet at all. I really refuse at the moment to put myself on a diet. I would have to gain a lot of weight to put myself into that restrictive mindset again. I should say at the moment I'm sitting bang in the middle of that barometer, so I'm 10.5 stone right now, which is 147 pounds, and I am hoping to get down to that bottom of 9.5 stone again. I crucially I'm doing that because I feel better in myself doing that. So this is the first thing. You've really got to think about why it is, really why it is, that you want to lose that weight. And then you have to imagine the feeling of being there, whether it's not having the jeans cutting into you, whether it's just feeling like you can move more freely, like you have a much greater self-confidence because you can wear whatever you want to wear. This is the feeling that you have to have, and when you get that feeling, that has to override any emotional eating desire that you might have. So this is the first thing. Really, really imagine why it is that you want to lose the weight and how it is that you will feel when you have lost it. So think of yourself at your skinniest and just try and imagine those little moments where it felt so great. The next thing, and I know this sounds crazy, do not put yourself on restrictions. I know that sounds nuts because you have to surely eat less to lose weight. Again, it's all about the mind. The moment you put yourself into a restrictive mindset, you feel like you're not in control anymore. You feel like someone else is dictating what you're going to eat and how you're going to eat it, and you will most likely rebel from that. And you'll think about food all the time, and you'll want to eat all of the things that you know that you shouldn't eat. So do not think of diet and do not think of the word restriction. What I'm going to give you is some tips and some habits, because this is a little bit about introducing some new habits which normally take at least 1 to 2 weeks to form. So whilst we're not doing dieting, there are some habits that we're going to really deliberately focus on for the next 1 to 2 weeks until they become the norm for us. And when we feel ourselves slipping off it for whatever reason, and it will happen, we have to consciously reintroduce these habits again. So, habit number 1. Water. I know everyone says this, oh, you have to drink water to lose weight. We all know it, but for some reason we don't really do it, because let's face it, drinking water is kind of boring. It doesn't have a taste. It might quench our thirst if we're really thirsty, but that's it. So let's just be honest about it. Drinking water is boring. However, The Winter Olympics is on at the moment, and there is one particular sport where they are skiing down a big hill, and at the bottom they have to come off it and fly through the air. They stop drinking water, apparently, my husband told me this, for 2 days prior to doing that. And the reason that they do it is because they need to have extra weight. They need to have extra weight to propel them forward, so not upwards, but forward. And the way that they do that is by not hydrating themselves at all for 2 days. When I heard that, I was like, okay, so water is really, really helping with weight loss. But the other thing is, think about how good you feel on the days where you do drink water. On the days where I drink water consistently, I'm definitely less hungry. I feel much, much better when I go to sleep at night, and much better when I wake up in the morning because I don't have that feeling of dehydration. And all of that is worth the peeing. I'm much less bloated, and just generally I feel much, much better. And again, a bit more in control. The way I have managed to do this, because I'm the worst water drinker ever, is by getting one of these things. And I showed one of these yesterday on my Home Bargains haul. This is a 1 litre water bottle, and it has time zones all of the way down from 8 to 12. At 12 you have to refill, and then that takes you through to about 6-7 o'clock in the evening, and it just makes drinking water much more manageable. And now it's become like the equivalent of my Starbucks cup. I have it everywhere I go, and it's just become like a little comfort thing. So if you need something like this to help you drink more water, then do it. Tip number 2, sleep. I'm sure lots of you can survive really well on little sleep, especially mums. Like, best case scenario, we're getting 5-6 hours sleep a night. Try and get as much as you can. If you're feeling like you've slept well, then you are going to not crave a lot of those things that you normally would throughout the day. I'm sure we've all felt it. If we've been out the night before, you want more food, especially carbohydrates, to kind of give you energy through the day. So tip number 2, definitely start getting sleep. And again, use a little tool. Use something called bedtime. And this is in the clock section. Basically set how much sleep you want to have. So if you know that you're going to go to bed at, let's say, 10:30, and you know that you're going to wake up at 5:30, then you know you're going to have 7 hours sleep. And what's great about this is that the alarm is a really, really gorgeous alarm. There's lots of different styles of alarm that you can choose from, and when it wakes you up in a much, much nicer way. So tip number 3 is forgiveness. There is no point beating yourself up. If you tell yourself that you're going to be perfect in this kind of diet ritual kind of way, you will inevitably feel terrible when you don't stick to it, and you'll then just want to come off it completely. And as I said, this is not a diet. This is just building awareness of your eating patterns and having a conscious approach to what you're putting in your body. And so you have to forgive yourself, especially women with hormones. There are going to be times of the month where you're going to need to eat something that is. So just think, sorry about my language. So just think, am I eating this really because I'm desperately craving it and it is going to make me feel so much better if I eat it? Or are you eating it because you can? If it is really that you're craving it, just have it. Like seriously, just have it. But just know at the end of it, if you feel really full and horrible, again, remember that feeling and think about it the next time you might want that thing. The final one, and this is the most important element of this weight loss, is building awareness. If you have a sense of awareness about what you're eating and about how you're feeling when you're eating it, you will just be conscious of what you're putting into your body in the future. And so to do this, I would recommend tracking your food for at least the first week to 2 weeks. If you just get in the habit of getting a sense of insight into what you're eating, then trust me, you will think twice before you make a choice about what to have for breakfast, lunch and dinner. This is not about dieting, so just be honest with what you're eating. Use a LifeSum app on your phone or MyFitnessPal and just track really honestly what you're eating. If you don't have awareness, then you can't do anything about it. And you can also track how good certain things are making you feel afterwards. So if you do this for 1 to 2 weeks, you will just shift in terms of habits. To try and give yourself energy through movement. So when you can get a little bit of extra movement into your day, try and do it. We all have days where we don't want to, believe me. Today is really disgusting outside, it's grey and it's rainy. The last thing I want to do is go out there and run. So what I might do instead is take one of my conference calls walking, and that for me might just feel a little bit more manageable, but I'll still get movement into my day. Again, think of the feeling that you have after you have done some form of movement, whether it's a dance, whether it's a run, whether it's a little bit of strength training, whether it's walking in the fresh air. No one goes out for a walk and generally feels worse afterwards. So try and think of that feeling at the end and push yourself towards it. There is a couple of little tools that I found on YouTube that I found super useful to avoid procrastination on some of these things, and I'm going to link them down below, and if you want to watch them, then they might just give you some tips as well. So this is going to be my approach to conscious eating over the next couple of months, and I am not going to religiously weigh myself. That is the other thing. I am going to really think about how I'm feeling in my clothes, how I'm feeling in my body. We know better than anyone when we're carrying weight and when we're not. Don't let the scales govern your emotion. Just be in control yourself, make decisions that are right for you, have a sense of awareness about them, eat slowly, enjoy the food that you do eat, drink lots of water, get lots of sleep, try and move a little bit more, and do not go on a diet. So I will check back in regularly, probably about every 2 weeks. And my hope is that by about springtime, mid-April, I am closer to where I would like to be on that lower scale of the barometer. So hopefully some of you guys will want to do this with me. If you don't find it useful, just feel free to scrub it. Some people really do need a diet and want to be on that. And if you do and it works for you, then power to you, go for it. This is just what has worked for me any time that I have sustainably been at the lower end of my weight barometer. So guys, thank you so much for sticking that out. I know that was a long video, and I will see you soon.
Wanna hold you, just wanna be with you till we grow old.